Hello and welcome back. My name is Brandon Watts, and today in this video we are going to be going over how I made $3,300 in just a few short days. So jumping right in, we'll go through one by one in no specific order, starting with another nice gain thanks to Akio. This trade actually took less time than the first big swing back at the beginning of October and actually made a bit more as well. You'll notice again how Akio had this 4-month-long consolidation in which it respected its support and resistance without swinging wildly in between the two. There was this one instance on 8/26 in which the price spiked 16% due to an analyst upgrade, but quite quickly returned back to support levels before bouncing like it had 4 times before. So going into the trade, I knew that if Akio continues to move as nice and efficiently as it had in the past, then there was a better than average chance that it could do so again, but at a higher level, which is this $9 resistance that needed to hold as a support. Armed with this information and doing a quick study of the chart, I saw that $9 could possibly hold here as a new support, now that on the 28th we held above $9 and on the 29th we made higher lows as well as higher highs on the daily time frame. Looking at the RSI, you'll see at this time we also made higher lows at this dip from the 28th to 29th. Notice the MACD still hadn't turned over yet, which was a point against the trade, as well as the TTM squeeze was showing rising downward momentum, which was point number 2 against it. The final key to entering the trade was the catalyst, though. On October 30th, Akio announced a licensing agreement that entailed something like $12 million in fees, as well as $91 million in royalties on future product sales. I figured this would be big news, so I jumped the gun and immediately bought 100 shares pre-market to start my position at 9.925, thinking that with this news, the price was sure to start boosting right at the open. Right at the open, price drops to 9.64 before picking right back up and getting rejected by the 9.9 level, coming down until eventually bottoming out an hour later at 9.4. After 30 minutes of watching 9.4 level hold, volume started to pick up and so did the price, so I added another 50 shares at 9.53 to try to lower my average to now 9.79. Price gets rejected again by the 200 yellow EMA and created this doji of indecision before coming back and attempting to hold the 9 red EMA before trending and finally breaking over the 200. At this point, I see that the price is starting to push up and add another 50 shares at 9.7 to penny pinch my average down, but failed to notice the weak volume coming in. Otherwise, I should have waited. And again, price gets rejected, this time by the 200 EMA on the 15-minute before coming back to retest the 9.4 as support. Again, towards the end of the day, I see more volume come in right at the start of power hour, so I add my last 50 shares for the day to bring my average down from 9.77 to 9.72. So on day 2, we see that during pre-market, we get this nice 4% pop from 9.5 to 9.95, which was a good sign considering that on Friday we were still consolidating. Although don't ever get pre-market movement confused as a sure sign of direction, as there are often times in which a large firm will jack with a price only to scare people out of a position or trap people into thinking a stock will trend one way when in reality the rug is about to be pulled. So moving forward, we open, price drops, and this time the 200 EMA on the 5-minute holds compared to the week prior, so I add 100 shares as price tests previous resistance at the 9.9 region. At this point, I already have a good position sitting on $3,400 at 9.77, so I wait for price to hold and follow through before adding another 50 shares at 10.10 after price rallied, consolidated into a flag, and then trended off the 9 EMA. Letting Akio do its thing for the rest of the day, I don't add another 2 lots until the end as volume and price really start to pick up, as I figure by this time Akio will be trending nicely into the close and I won't have to waste a day trade knowing I can sell first thing in the morning, which turned out to be the wrong move as I could have waited until the next day to add more at a better price, but seeing as how I had 600 shares already at 10.01, I was quite happy with the average. Notice again here on day 3 that price drops down and holds the 200 EMA, this time higher than last, though for a day in which it just drops like that at the open and my average being large as I decided to sit day 3 out and let my position ride. Going back to the main chart after day 3 and closing out as a doji, we immediately gap up at the open, and I don't add any more for the same reason, which is that I don't want to use up a day trade buying into something that could drop back instead of trending higher. which by the time we close ends up being 15% up for the day. So going into the last day, here's my theory. Looking at October 7th, on the daily time frame, the price gapped up and closed near highs similar to day 4. What I expected to happen was profit takers combined with short takers to come in at the open, drive the price down, but then get picked right back up similar to October 8th, and then drive through for higher gains, which turns out I was right, except I didn't play the trend fully, which is okay. After holding at the open through the dip down to the 200 EMA, I end up selling out at 11.98, though at this point I had saved up all 3 day trades, so I figured once price started to pick back up, I would go back in with a smaller position. This time 300 shares, which I rode into Friday and sold 30 cents cheaper than the top for the day. Not a bad trade overall, coming in at $1,482 realized profits, or 16% total account profit from my starting November balance of $8,976. Trade number 2 involves a little action from PLTR, which I'll cover super quickly as this stock just IPO'd back on September 30th. The reason why I took this trade was easy: support and resistance. Notice how after the rally from the lows at 8.9, PLTR popped up to 10.5, came back, retested support with higher lows above $9 twice, picks up, pushes through the new resistance formed here, and rallies to $11 where it gets rejected before coming back and doing what? Retesting old resistance as a new support, which held now at $10 before coming up and driving into the $11 resistance. My initial position, I started as PLTR started to push on its initial rally with 1 share at 10.55. Big ballin' trader, I know, but the share price was already up 7%, so I didn't want to chase. At the close, I buy 10 more shares to test out, which both end up failing the next day as price drops, and I sell for a $6 loss. See how smart that was to use small shares as a test? Day 3 comes in on October 29th, and price again pops back to $11, so I buy another test of $10 or of 10 shares at 11.09. But again, the price doesn't hold and it drops over the course of 3 days. This time I hold as I have other things going on and don't feel like messing around with a small loss until finally I see that $10 held as a support and the overall pattern is higher lows and consolidation. So November 3rd, I start to get a little more involved with the position by adding 140 shares throughout the course of the day, bringing me to an average of 10.73 on top of a $1,600 position. Next day proves to be slow moving, so I sell 50 shares to free up cash for another stock that is moving. And then finally, the next day we get a nice pop at the open, and I add as price holds the 9 and 25 EMA. Again, on the final day, we open up fairly strong, so I throw on another 200 shares knowing that at some point today I will use a day trade to pull out safely with a nice profit. New average at this point is 12.05, sitting on a $6,000 position. I could have probably held this longer, maybe, but having a position that is 2/3 the size of your account was super sketchy, so I pulled out for a 17% profit on the position, bringing in $984.22 or 11% total account profit from my starting November balance. So we're definitely moving in the right direction. The last and final trade was my precious AVXL, which I mentioned in the last 2 videos. Had you been watching and paying attention, I'll quickly go over this as well and show you the tragic conclusion to the trade, which still turned out for a profit, though not quite what I was looking for. Well, not at all what I was looking for, to be honest, but you win some, you lose some, and no matter what, you try to get better. I won't go into the details of the trade. As you can see, ever since we found this stock on October 20th, it's been pushing up and making higher highs up to the 52-week high that was at 6.31 from February. At that point, price consolidated until eventually it broke out and attracted a lot of attention, leading up to a conference in which they were to release results of one of their dementia trials, which, as you can see here on Friday, didn't pan out the way investors had hoped. So with my initial average at 5.17 with 500 shares to my final position at 5.41 with 1,000 shares, I was able to sell out a little later than I should have, but still with a $819 profit, which was rather sad seeing as how I was up like $2,000. But that is what happens when you don't plan ahead and set a stop loss, thus protecting more profit than not. We live, learn, and hopefully get better. Learn from me on what to do as well as what not to do, and you'll be set. I'm not perfect, and I still make mistakes, though the key is to make less in mistakes than you make in profits, and that I am slightly above average on. You know, I heard a video from a top New York prop firm in which they stated that their consistent players make anywhere from 1K to 4K a day on average. If I can do that now with a small account, then all there is to it is to become consistent, and the profits would take care of themselves. So that is where I am at. Closing the first week out at $11,850 for my total account balance, or 32% profit for the month. Keep in mind, I can always stop right now and be 2% up on my goal for the month, but what is the fun in that? So I'll see you in the next video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you found any of this helpful, and have a great day. Peace.